Hello, hello, Wendy. How are you today and where are you dialing from?
I am very well, thank you. And I am in the southern end of the beautiful Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean.
Oh, wow, sounds wonderful. That's somewhere I'd rather be right now because it's really cold and dark in Poland.
Oh, but we don't have cold, we don't have dark, we just have a little bit of rain today.
Oh, this is perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining
Thank
my
you for
hot
having
seat
me.
session today. The purpose
Yes.
of this session is to help our lovely community and our audience to gain competitive edge with the help of our loveliest mentors, which is you. And I'm really excited to talk about the role of mindset in overcoming learning challenges. But before we proceed, tell us just, a few words about yourself and what you're doing.
Wow, I wear a few hats, but more applicable to the conversation. I lead the Trinidad and Tobago Corporate Training Academy, which was formerly the Trinidad and Tobago School of Protocol. So I am a corporate trainer, I'm a certified protocol officer. I teach on protocol and etiquette, empowerment, mindset, communications, emotional intelligence, and so much more. I really believe that we're in a stage, an era in our lives where information is of paramount importance. So I aim to contribute, and the vision I have for my life is to create change and impact lives.
Oh, thank you so much for this introduction. So let's proceed to the topic. Of course, my first question is rather general, and I would like to know, can you tell me how does one's mindset actually impact their learning journey? And maybe you can even share an example from your experience.
Mindset is so key. I'll tell you something. I've learned that there are two different types of mindset. There's a fixed mindset and there's a growth mindset. And that is something that I did not know growing up. Because growing up, you just think you have one head, so you have one mind, and you have one trend of thoughts, which is not really correct. You have two types of mindsets. One is a fixed mindset, and that's the one that's very difficult for people to address because it's one that is static from birth. It's fixed. It gives you the abilities and intelligence as static traits. And people with a fixed mindset, Kate, tend to avoid challenges. They tend to abhor and hug up, as we say in Trinidad, hold tight to comfort zone. You don't want to shift from your comfort zone. The focus is on, creating an impression. The focus is so different when you have a fixed mindset. What you've learned when you're growing up, no one can change that. I mean, I'm really so grateful to Carol Dweck that identified these two different types of mindsets. So in the face of difficulties with a fixed mindset, you'll tend to give up easily. You'll tend to resist challenges. The focus is on so many different things that don't provide growth. But with the growth mindset, you're open to change. And that is one of the things that I think we shy away from, getting out of our comfort zone because we get comfortable in our comfort zone. And that applies to education, intelligence, social ills, cultural ills, religious beliefs. Everything has to be fixed as opposed to growth. And those things stagnate us. We're living in a world where technology is moving at a rapid pace, but yet there are people who refuse to embrace technology because of a fixed mindset. But when you go deeper into this conversation, I'll be able to expand some more because there is a contrast with the growth and the fixed mindset, where I reckon you should be probably 5 to 10% fixed, but 90% growth.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. And actually, it leads me to my second question because I believe a lot of people there nowadays do trying to develop, this open-mindedness to openness to learning. But I feel that nowadays there is
Mhm.
just so much information on the internet that it's really hard to develop focus. So, what are some tips, on how to develop a focused mindset and actually, stick to your learning goals, not being distracted?
I think one of the things that I came up with, and this is something when I created a principle called the MAP principle. And MAP is an acronym for mindset, attitude, and purpose. And I recognize that principle can be applied to any area of your life. You can map out your vision, you can map out cooking, you could map out any area. You name it, there's a map for it. But you cannot map something out without a vision. So the ABC is what I call it. So, first and foremost, you have to apply acceptance and adaptation. Accept that times are changing and adaptation is not your enemy. One of the things we don't do is accept the reality of life. And the reality is that times are changing. We can't do, I had a session with some young people just before the pandemic where they were in a place of a fixed mindset and they are refusing to learn, they're refusing to adapt, they're refusing to change. And I said, you aren't really doing that. You think you are because you're trying to build a barrier. So if I take away your cell phones, well, of course, that changed the whole conversation. Take away your cell phones and I can give you some quarters so you can go use a payphone. Miss, why do we? No, because you're telling me in one breath, you're not accepting the change that you're a part of. So it's just a stubborn mentality. A stubborn mentality is lack of knowledge. So the ABC to it is, first of all, acceptance and adaptation. Accept that times are changing and adaptation is not your enemy. The B for me is a personal one. You have to become and stop being. Michelle Obama said it perfectly in her book. You have to become. It's becoming. It's not static. You have to be ever learning. You never stop learning. So to stop learning for me, and this is something that I've said before, to stop learning is the pinnacle of arrogance. Every day you're learning, you're learning, you're learning, you're learning. And the C for me is the committal to change. Be committed to change, because once you're committed to change, you will automatically embrace growth.
You're saying be committed to change. On my personal level, I completely relate to this phrase because, I'm learning, I'm trying to evolve, and I'm completely open to this. But I
Yes.
think, some of the other problems that I personally saw my friends experience is, being afraid to fail because learning is, it's a change. You have to
Yes.
accept that there's something unknown that you have to face. And I feel like a lot of people are so scared of this. How can they develop a mindset that embraces failure as an opportunity to grow instead of a setback?
For me, I'll tell you this. The mindset is something that needs to change. We recognize that. But a lot of times people don't understand their worth. So they're forever trying to prove themselves to someone. They're forever trying to be right. And then you end up not living. You have to learn to live. And sometimes we live vicariously as opposed to living intentionally. So at the end of the day, once you recognize that, listen, today is a brand new day. How do you start your day? You live intentionally. We plan our diaries the night before. Well, hopefully, you plan your diary the day before. You plan, you decide where you're going, you have an idea what your day is going to look like. That is living intentionally. Now, you can live intentionally, and then something occurs that you did not expect. We need to start seeing and stop looking, because you could look and not see the same way you could listen and not hear. So at the end of the day, sometimes things happen and we see it as disappointment and we see it as failure, not recognizing that that thing that didn't go the way you wanted it to go is not necessarily a wrong thing. It just didn't align with your expectations. But how about if that is the stepping stone to the real version of what you're supposed to get, what you're supposed to receive, what you're supposed to become? So, for example, you're doing something and you're supposed to reach to a meeting at a particular time, and everything is going wrong in your eyes. So you're seeing everything going wrong. The car wouldn't start, you can't find the keys for the house to lock the house, the children screaming, the babysitter didn't arrive on time, and you are getting super frustrated because in your mind, I am one, I'm going to be late. Number two, I'm going to miss this opportunity. All of that takes place and you arrive. The person who you were supposed to meet with, you are no longer meeting with because that person left because of your delay. The person that you end up meeting with is the person who has your favor. And you don't realize that until the end of the meeting. You're saying, oh my God, luckily I didn't meet with the person I'm supposed to meet with, because now here all of this is happening. It's how you see it. So sometimes when things don't go our way, we have to think, maybe there is another way that is in alignment with what I perceive. So it's not looking, it's about seeing. And you can't see without understanding the vision. You could be looking at something and not seeing. 10 people could look at the same thing and come up with 10 different visions. So it's about seeing as opposed to looking. And it's also about listening, learning, and living intentionally. And replace fear with faith. Replace fear. Live a fearless life. There are some people who aren't afraid to jump. Just take a leap of faith. What is the worst thing that could happen? It may not go according to your plan, but then there's always a divine order.
This is such a great example. And I think all of the points that you're mentioning, they are pretty much connected to the growth mindset as we know
Yeah,
it. Because even when you're just trying, even when you're failing, when you're embracing the failure, you are growing. You're always growing
yes,
when you're trying. I
always.
agree. So my question to you would be is, you know, it's such a great word to, you know, to throw around. I have a growth mindset and etc. But how do we make sure that it's not just a buzzword but an integral part of our, you know, continuous educational process?
Yeah, you use the word right there, continuity. We have to be committed. We have to be diligent. You can't start today, then change your mind tomorrow. Consistency is the master key to success. You're saying you want a growth mindset. What are the steps you're taking? Have you assessed your life currently and figured out, okay, these are areas where I'm fixed? These are things that I've refused to change, refused to adapt. But then, how about if I change my perception, change my thought process, and let's see what the results will bring? So, we in ourselves, when we make the choice to change, change is a choice. You cannot force anyone to change. You cannot force people to shift from a fixed to a growth mindset. You cannot pour education down to anybody's throat. You have to recognize within yourself, listen, I want to reach to this destination. These are the steps I have to take. You want to leave Trinidad and you want to go to the United Kingdom, you cannot do it your way. Must have a passport. You want to go to the United States, you must have a visa. Then, even when you get the passport and the visa, so these are the stages. Even when you get the passport and the visa, you're still not going to get there. You have to physically pack. You have to physically get yourself to the airport. When you get to the airport, you now have to present these things. So it is a continuous journey till you get to your destination. And even when you get to your destination, you're still growing, you're still learning, you're still moving. Because if you don't mind your time, you could overstay, and when you overstay, you can get deported. Treat life like a flight. I say it all the time. When you get on that plane, buckle your seatbelt, follow the rules, listen to the pilot, and the pilot could be anyone. The pilot could be this conversation for someone. Someone tuning in could say to themselves, I needed to hear this. I'm on my journey called life, and I needed to hear that question that Kate asked. I needed to hear the answer that Wendy gave. So everyone needs to treat their life like a flight. Think about a flight. Think about the stages. Don't overstay. You have to be able to fulfill purpose. That's why there are seasons in our lives. Today you could be doing something, tomorrow you could be doing something else. A fixed mindset will tell us you go to school, you get a good education, you work from 9 to 5, and then you retire at 60. That's what a fixed mindset has, programmed us to think that is what life is. But a growth mindset will give you an entrepreneurial mindset. I always align a growth mindset with an entrepreneurial mindset where you're open. What are your giftings? What is making room for you? And I remember, Kate, and I say this all the time, I had an opportunity to meet Sir Richard Branson when I lived in the UK, and I asked him, what is the secret to your success? And he said, multiple streams of income. How do you generate those multiple streams of income? By recognizing what your gifts are. You can do your 9 to 5, your 8 to 4, but what are your gifts? Are you going to give your entire life to a system that is created for you to stay in the system? Or are you going to have a growth mindset and try something new, do something different, empower, motivate, start a business, launch a business, throw an event, host something, do something, take a leap of faith, and you have additional sources of income. And then you shift from the left side of the quadrant where everybody's employed or self-employed, and then you become a business owner and an investor. And that way you're able to become the blessing. You can't just be blessed. You have to become the blessing so that you can bless others in this journey called life.
It is such a great closing word, actually, Wendy. Thank you so much. And as we are wrapping up, I would like to say personally that I smiled so much. I really enjoyed this conversation. You sounded so inspirational. I just felt
Thank
like I had a TED talk.
you. Thank you so much. You're a great interviewer. Those questions were powerful, and the answers needed to be heard. Thank you, Renee. Renee is saying really impactful discussion. We
I
appreciate you.
agree.
Yeah, for taking the time. That right there is an example of what I just made reference to. Somebody who took the time to jump on this call to receive something. Timing is everything. Timing is everything. So, Renee, may your journey be blessed in whatever your endeavors are. Thank you so much for
Yes.
having me.
Thank you so much, Wendy. I'm sure our audience enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And if you did, please feel free to contact Wendy and see how she can help you develop your growth mindset. Thank you again, Wendy, and have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Same to you. All the best.